So you want to get into taking care of your lawn, but you don't know where to start. Well, let me tell you, there is one place that you must start, one piece of information that you must have, and we're going to talk about that in this video. So let's get into it. So what's the one thing you must do? The one piece of information you must have before you get started? Well, it's how big your yard is. So you need to get out there and measure your yard. I know that seems kind of boring, but knowing how big your yard is required in order to be able to really do anything in your yard. How big of a lawnmower do you need? What type of lawnmower do you need? How much fertilizer do you need to buy and apply? And how do you make sure you're putting down the right amount of fertilizer? How much of a herbicide, fungicide, insecticide, any sort of aside that you're going to put down? How do you know how much you need? And if we have other issues, unevenness, holes, you want to get into sand top dressing, we start talking about the putting green and PGR and all of those types of applications. How do you know how much of any one product that you need? Well, the answer to all of those questions is we need to know how big our yard is, or how big the area that we're going to be treating is. So the follow-up question and what we're here to talk about today is, how do you know how big your yard is? Well, really there's two options. The first is you take your tape measure if you have a smaller yard, or if it's relatively square and easy to measure yourself, and you go out there, or you pace it off if you think you have a pretty accurate pace, and you go out there and you measure it and you do some math and you figure out how big your yard is. However, that starts to get pretty tricky if you have some abnormal shapes and a lot of arcs. And yes, we can do that math. We remember pi r squared and all of those things, and we can build a square and we can section it, but that's hard pass. So what we can do is I'm going to show you two sources that you can go to, and it's the same process in both, to be able to actually physically go map your yard out and get as precise of a measurement as you can on a larger space and on something that's maybe a little bit oddly shaped. All right, so here we are at the first option, and what is my personal favorite, which is my local county's GIS map. I don't know what GIS stands for. It doesn't really matter. I've looked for this for a couple different counties, and you can look it up in your area as well to see if it's offered, but it's an interactive map. Now, the other option is Google Earth, and I'll show that next. The reason why I prefer this is it keeps the areas that you draw, where Google Earth, once you make one area and then go to a next area, it deletes the previous one. And the other reason I like it is it's giving you the actual lot line. So sometimes in Google Earth, you look down and you zoom in, and it's kind of tricky to try to figure out exactly where your lot line is. This is where your lot line is. So it's easier to map. So I am at a random person's house, and we're going to figure out how big their front yard is. And so in this particular one, I'm sure if you use something, it'll be a little bit different, but I have to go to tasks, distance, area, feet, and I want feet per feet squared. So now in here, we can zoom in, zoom out, scratch that, reverse it. But here's where the benefits of this particular feature come in, is this is oddly shaped. So to measure this, just walking out there and pacing it off, it'd be kind of tricky, it'd be a lot of math. So what are we gonna do? I'm gonna say I'm this individual who owns this, what appears to be a very beautiful house. And what I want to know how big my front yard is. From the front of my house, along this tree line to right here. Here I just click at the starting point, and I'm just gonna walk my way around this region. We're not looking for absolute precision, but we're gonna make a rough estimate as good as we can. About over there. And if you know where your beds are, you can do this even more accurately than what I can do at this stranger's house. And then when you want to close the shape on this particular feature, you double click, and we have ourselves a shape. And now we know that number. So now we can say if we want to put down 3 pounds per thousand of a product, we take 19 times 3, it's 57, plus a half of 3, 1.5, 57, plus 1.5, 58.5 pounds if we want to get really specific. Realistically, 58 will do, 60 will probably also do. But that's how much of, say, a fertilizer that we'll need if we want to put it down to 3 pounds per thousand. I'm going to have more videos as time goes on how do we know an application rate that we're doing? How do we know how much we're supposed to put down? How do we figure that out? That's going to be a later video in the series, but I just wanted to provide that example. And then, like I said, the feature this has that Google Earth won't, when we look at that in a second, is I can draw another shape on here. So I can come over here and draw another shape, and now you have both. So you can have an image that you can print to a PDF, and that's going to have all of the areas of your yard all recorded on there for you and ready to go. And the next option, our good friends at Google. So here we are at this house. and we are going to go and we're going to measure some areas of this yard. So in Google, this ruler down here. And once we have that measuring tool selected, this box up here will come up and we're ready to go. So I'm going to say that I am the owner of this house and I want to know what is inside what appears to be a fence. I want to know how big that is. So same idea. We're just going to draw some points around everything, cover the fence line, and we're back. And now we know we have a 3,700 square foot area inside of our fence, and we can use that and, you know, measure out the specific amount of fertilizer for that area. And then we can go on. And how I said and showed that the GIS will save that area for you to go to a new one in order to do a new one. Here we start new and that goes away. So I would have had to record in Excel or on a sheet of paper or wherever you do your record keeping, and then just start off, okay, now I want to measure my front yard. How big is that? We go around, we come here along the driveway, up to the corner. Okay, I got a 3,400 square foot front yard, and you can do that and make any combination of measurement that you want, and you will know how big your yard is. And there we have it. We now know exactly how much of everything that we're going to buy, apply, do, etc., how we can measure that out and how we know exactly how much that we need, so we're making the right applications at the right rates at the right time. And we'll talk through that all this year as we go through the beginner lawn care program alongside the putting green project. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already to follow along to those. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.